This is the 2024 Summer Games Bocce Coaches meeting. Again, thank you all for joining us. Dates for Summer Games will be June 7th through the 9th. That is June 7th, Friday through the 9th, Sunday. So for the sports management team, myself, Sam Brown, and then Mackenzie O'Neill and Samantha Feel, we are all captains on the management team for this year's Bocce Summer Games. Joshua Terry will be the venue manager. Amanda Grant will be in charge of results, and then Savannah will be the state staff on site.
This is what the scores are that help us division. So all of these scores, each athlete, each unified partner, anybody competing at Summer Games in Bocce, they all need a qualification score. So sometimes it's like, oh, does my unified partner need a qualification? Yes, they do. Everybody that is on a team that's going to be competing, even an alternate, substitute, whatever it is, they need a qualification score. We have seen sometimes differences of how people are getting these. So Sam did a really good job of videotaping and creating this. You will see an Oscar-nominated nominee right here acting. No, I'm just kidding. But this is exactly how you should get it. These are the numbers, or not the numbers, the measurements that you should take from the distances, the 30, the 40, and the 50, and it lays out exactly how you should get it. If you have questions, let me know. I can also disperse this video once we get done with the call.
Welcome to the 2024 Bocce Qualification Score tutorial. Each athlete will play 8 bocce balls from 30 feet, 40 feet, and 50 feet. Start by placing the palina at the 30-foot line. After all 8 balls have been played, measure and record the distance of the 3 closest bocce balls. After you have measured and recorded the distance for a ball in inches, you can move it out of the way in order to more easily measure the other balls.
Three.
When 2 balls appear to be the same distance away from the palina, measure both of them to ensure that the one that is actually closest is the one that is recorded. After measurements for 30 feet have been recorded, take the palina and place it at the 40-foot line, and then have athletes deliver 8 balls at that distance. If the palina gets knocked out of place at any point by a bocce ball, it must be repositioned before another ball can be delivered or any measurements are taken. After all 8 balls have been played, again measure the distance in inches of the 3 closest bocce balls and record the results. Remember that if 2 balls appear to be the same distance from the palina, always measure both to ensure the closest is recorded. After all measurements for 40 feet have been recorded, place the palina at the 50-foot line, and athletes will deliver 8 balls at the palina at that distance. After all 8 balls have been delivered, measure and record the distance in inches of the 3 closest bocce balls. With all measurements now taken, it is time to complete the scorecard. The following scorecard shows the distances in inches that were recorded during the filming of this video. By adding together the 3 closest measurements at each distance, you get the total for each distance. Then add those totals together to arrive at the individual entry score. Be sure that you fill in the athlete, unified partner name, and county program at the top of the scorecard as well. If you have any questions regarding the qualification score process, please email Savannah Vaughn at svaughn@soindiana.org.
As you can see throughout the video, we took 3 different distances. So the 30, the 40, and the 50. And that palina is placed in the middle of each of those distances. And then once you're placed in the distances, an athlete, a unified partner, they throw all 8 balls at all 3 distances. So as you can see, I threw from the very first line, I threw all 8 balls, and we took the top 3 measurements. So we don't take all measurements of all 8 balls. We just get the best of the 8 balls. So the 3 measurements. Then we move forward to the 40-foot distance, and that 40-foot distance then throw all 8 balls again, and we take once again the top 3. And then lastly at the 50-foot distance, then we throw all 8 balls, take the top 3. And then there should be a total of 9 measurements that you get and you log on that qualification scorecard. If once you have all the nine, those 9 total scores add up to get the individual's entry score. Can be kind of confusing, but once you get the top 3 of each distance, you add it all together, get the individual. And you need to do that for every athlete, every unified partner. More. That qualification scorecard that you find in the program information guide. I don't need that. All I need is the individual entry score. That qualification scorecard is just for you to help keep the track of all the numbers. And then Andy asked a question really quick on the Bocce GMS scores, if they're entered. They do go into GMS. So that individual entry score for each of the athletes and unified partners go into the GMS. And don't worry about totaling the score for the team. GMS does that. All I need from you guys as coaches is the individual entry scores for each athlete or unified partner.
For training and just preparing for the season in general, we have an 8-week training plan that we actually found from Special Olympics Michigan that's related to bocce training. It's an 8-week plan that it has a lot of different nutrition, exercises, ways to practice bocce skills to kind of ramp you up towards the season. We have the link to this program that we can send out as well, so you can look at it more in depth. But it's a very thorough and very good training plan. So if you're lacking for ideas and you're wanting to get some good direction as to where to start, this is a great resource.
Okay, so with our expectations as a coach at Bocce, our county coordinators can't be everywhere, and neither can all of our chaperones and everybody else. And with you being the head coach or the coach for Bocce, there are some things that come with it in regards to prep of the season, during the season, also leading up to summer games, as well as while you're on site. So in an effort just to keep everything consistent, I wanted to lay out a couple of those here. And if you have questions, you can let me know. So first, like we've been talking about already, all qualification scores are usually going to be gathered by those coaches. They're going to know the athletes the most. They're going to know how to do it. And being the Bocce coach, you should have you should be able to get all the scores and submit them to either whoever's entering the GMS scores, the county coordinator, or another person who has GMS access. Next, this is a good time. Things happen. Athletes either decide they don't want to play, they want to go to a different team, whatever it is, as long as those scratches, those changes are communicated to myself, to the county coordinator, so I can communicate it to the SMT team. As long as those are communicated, we can, before deadlines, we can help you as much as possible. But whatever it is, if we don't know the scratches, we don't know the changes, we can't help you. So communicate those as frequently as you can. If you have any scratches or things during the season before entries, that would go to county coordinator. If you have anything leading up, so let's say we're already past deadlines, but somebody drops out, they can't make it to summer games. That's a scratch, so I need to be communicated that so I can either let our SMT know, or I can also work on changing or editing a couple of brackets. By the time that entries are done, I probably won't change a bracket because it'll affect too many things, but it at least can get me to say, hey, SMT, I'm going to need some volunteers to play against these athletes. They automatically advance the other team. Next is on site. If you have scratches on site, so somebody's not feeling well, they couldn't show up today for summer games, then that's fine. I just need you guys to communicate that to Sam, Joshua, Amanda, anybody on the SMT team to communicate that so we can also ahead of chance like, hey, this is going to be a scratch. They're just playing for participation, that people who have arrived, or the other team is automatically advancing. Next is you're going to oversee, as being the head person at the venue, you are in charge of overseeing athletes, unified partners, bocce chaperones, and any spectators that are associated with your delegation or county at bocce. This comes in terms of making sure everybody is at the right place at the right time, making sure that any sportsmanship issues are handled or taken care of, or if anything needs to be communicated to SMT or Special Olympics staff. Whatever it is, you oversee all of them. So it doesn't just stop at athletes and unified partners. It continues on to anybody affiliated with your delegation that is on the venue campus. All right. And then finally, some things happen. Sometimes the call is made or something, game is played and you don't agree with it. totally fine. Understand. There are things that happen that make emotions get high. Whatever it is, approach anybody that you are speaking to respectfully and kind, and make sure that it's communicated. You are going to know your athletes really well, which means that they might have a temper because they don't think something was called right, which is totally okay. Everybody has emotions. But you knowing the athlete the most, please help make sure they're controlled, make sure any spectators are controlled. Anybody, don't let emotions get too high. We're all there for the right reasons. We're all there to have fun, to get our athletes some medals and some ribbons. That's all it is. Please don't enforce or re-encourage, or not enforce, but re-encourage bad behavior or bad sportsmanship. Code of conduct. So we have several forms. If we have to write one up, I really don't ever want to write one up, but if we have to, we will. So just keep that in mind. Make sure that all athletes come first, that's the reason we're there. Even our volunteers are volunteering their weekend for there. So just please, whenever you're approaching something, approach with respect and kindness, and professionalism. Once again, it doesn't just stop with your athletes and unified partners. It goes beyond for chaperones. So make sure to keep everybody in line also in a respectful manner. All right, athlete and unified compliance. This is something that has always been a struggle. And I understand because a lot of people change or something happens. But in order for me to schedule, I have to have everybody's compliancy right away, or by the time the deadline is. And we'll go over deadlines here in a little bit. If I don't have compliancy yet, I'm waiting on tracking those compliancies down. And that means I can't schedule, which means I can't get the brackets to you or the court schedules. And our rule is any athlete needs to have a current medical on file as well as a completed athlete registration form. Any unified partner needs to have a Class A compliancy, which that expires every 3 years. So for the most part, every 3 years, we need to make sure that athletes are registered, compliant, as well as Class A, unified partners having Class A compliancy. Class A compliancy, it goes through Jeff Braun, athlete registration and medical, that's handled on the sports side. If you have questions with that, you can reach out to me and I'll either forward you to Kathy or we'll figure out the best way to get it complete. Like I said, if I don't have compliancy, if we're chasing a unified partner to get their background checked on or to finish their protective behaviors, I can't schedule with that until it's done. What should be happening is before practice even begins, so before they even start playing bocce, athletes need to have that medical and registration form on hand in the state office, and Class A compliancy needs to be completed. Before, that includes unified partners. They should not be practicing if they don't have either of those.
Initial entries are due May 6th. I believe that's Friday. That's a Monday. Monday, May 6th. Then the preliminary report will be sent out to delegations, and then any updates and corrections will be due on May 15th. And then the goal is to send the finalized schedules and brackets out on May 24th. And so at the mandatory coaches meeting on Tuesday, May 28th, which is at 7 p.m., if you have any corrections on the brackets and schedules that you were sent, please bring them with you, and then we can address them there.
Further on this, for both of these, the mandatory coaches meeting, if you don't have a coach attend that, you don't get a protest form or you don't get a protest card. So you have to have 2 things to protest. One is your credential, as well as the other one is the head coach credential. Only head coaches can protest, and if you don't attend that mandatory coaches meeting, then you can't protest. All of these items, these dates, reflect this year's competition. So it will change for next year's competition, but for this year, those are the dates.
All that we need you to enter into GMS is the individual qualification scores, and then once those are in, GMS will automatically calculate the team qualification score. And then the team qualification score is what we use to create the divisions. So the more accurate that the individual qualification scores are, that allows us to make more competitive divisions. So that's not it's not lopsided either way. We play this in Marks Field. It's on campus at the Indiana State University. It's on the corner. It's a field that's on the corner of Chestnut and 4th. So like the little pin you see on the map, it's like the field it's the area between 4th and then US Highway 41. That's the field where all the bocce courts will be set up. And it is it's just a grass field. Sometimes the grass is cut and trimmed down, other times it's not. We really don't have any control over whether the grass is cut or not, so we're hoping for the best. But if it is longer, it can be difficult to push wheelchairs through or just walk through in general. So just be mindful of that.
4th Street and Chestnut. There's going to be two porta-johns. One is handicap, one is not. That is where the sidewalk ends. So keep that in mind while you're actually it even looks like the bocce courts are part of the the picture here. But that is where the sidewalk ends. So that means that if you have wheelchairs or athletes with wheelchairs, it can be kind of tough to push the athletes in that grass. But there's no other sidewalk that would allow us to get on there. And that is the lowest slip. Everything else is a curb. So as you keep going north on that 4th Street, it's still a curb and it can be difficult to put any get any athletes. There is a little sidewalk here, but it's a decent, if you can see, it's a decent distance away. Last year we had our bocce courts a little bit closer to the street. So that's the goal for this year. The shade tents are located normally on this north 41 side of the street. And then we have team camps located throughout on the fence, going on 41 and on Chestnut here. But the awards will be located down towards the further south end of this field, towards the porta-johns, and the bocce courts will be a little bit more east, as well as a little fence. So we have 2 shade tents that will be on site that are open, first come, first serve. They'll have a couple of chairs. We are also doing team camps again this year, which will be assigned. We have tried our best to make sure that if you're in like an A, the B person is in the next session. So to kind of spread out throughout 41, and it's that the team camps are on the side of 41 and Chestnut. So you line up right on the fence. It is a public space. We don't lock anything down. So I would just be, if you are going to bring something and leave it overnight, that's up to you. It's just be careful. I don't have any control. We can't lock it up. I can't secure it in any way. So it's up to you to make sure it stays safe. They will, but once again, we will have team camp. So if you're interested, seating, you'll have to bring your own seats. That is one thing. We don't provide any seating. There is some metal chairs, but most of it is used for either in the shade tents or on campus, or not on campus, in the competition area. All right. So prior to summer games weekends, this isn't regarding scratches. If something comes up where after we've got the schedules are out, everything's all the players have games, divisions, things like that. If you see scratches, if you have scratches, if you see changes, edits, corrections that you think something's wrong with the brackets, email me right away. I'll try to fix it. I'll either find the solution or I'll get you an alternative. Any scratches I need to know ahead of time so I can communicate that with my sports management team so that they know to not expect a team there and we're not waiting the 5 minutes. We can get them to play right away. It helps keep the weekend moving during summer games weekend. So if we're already on campus, games are going, any scratches should go to the sports management team. So Sam, Joshua, Amanda, other Sam and Mackenzie, any of them, you should communicate the scratches to. They can write it down in the book and then we can, it gives us a little bit of an advance. This one is a big time. Sometimes you get there and either a chaperone, a parent, an athlete doesn't know where they're playing. Understandable. We have a families binder located at the sports management tent. It is for use of anybody who walks up who can't find a game or where they're supposed to play. The one thing to keep in mind with this, our sports management team can help you find it. The easiest way that and the fastest way that they can help you is know their division. If they know their division, or if you know your division or the athlete's division, it's easy for us to go and look on the bracket and tell you exactly where you're playing, either on the court schedule or on the bracket. If you come up and tell us her name, it's fine. We can still find it. We just have to go through the alpha listing, which lists all the athletes, find out what division they are, and then go. It just takes a little bit longer of a process. So if you know the division, we can help you pretty quick. If you don't know the division, it just takes a little bit longer. Still can find it, just takes a little bit longer. Like previously mentioned, finalized schedules and brackets will be sent out on Friday, May 24th. Scheduling is the hardest part of bocce. Divisioning, the numbers kind of all speak. I put you in the same divisions as other teams that are placed in, like, have the same qualification scores or close. And the scheduling, though, is a lot of our athletes play on 2 events. So that might mean Sam and I are playing on a doubles team, and then we play with Jeff and Catherine later on our team. So it's my job to make sure that Sam's team and my team is not playing at the same time that Sam, Jeff, Catherine, and I are playing on a different court. So that's the difficulty with it. That's why there's such a long turnaround time for it. By that time on May 24th, everything will be released. So brackets, schedules, those are all going to be released onto the website. So they will be under our Summer Games page, and they will also be sent probably by Kathy, who will send out all of the final schedules in one big email to county coordinators. So if you haven't heard anything, contact your county coordinator, but also you can look on to the website. It is possible that players could play back to back if they play in multiple games. You might see this the most in session B because that's a little bit of a less, we have less teams in there. That's mainly because we sometimes can't always get volunteers on Saturday afternoon and Sunday especially. So I do my best logistically to make sure that all the teams are going to have a volunteer, but also that we can get enough. We're not standing there waiting for our volunteers to, like, somebody to have to oversee the court. So I try to do as much as I can to logistically puzzle piece it together. But that does mean sometimes that if they're playing on a doubles and a team, they might play back to back. I can work with you on that. If that's the case, I'm not going to make an athlete not go to the bathroom for so long. If that's the case, we'll put a little bit of a placeholder in there for you. Just talk to the sports management team, contact me beforehand, whatever it is. I'll work with you. I do try to avoid scheduling back to back, but sometimes I just can't help it. This is for court number 3, and you'll see there's a lot going on at this point. So blue is going to be our traditional doubles. So that means 2 athletes playing on the same team. Red is our unified double. So an athlete and a unified partner are playing in the red. And then yellow, I believe, is our traditional team, and green is I'm almost positive green is our traditional. There's a decoder of it. Green is our traditional and yellow is our unified. Each of these, as you can see, so Friday is listed at the very top, and it's then goes all the way to from 1 p.m. to 4:30. So that's the entire competition for Friday. It lists the division number first in that column. And so at 1 o'clock on Friday, division 203, it's game 3 on court 3, and it's Hamilton County Paget Cone versus Madison County Tartar Walker. And then if you look again at 210, they're playing, division 203 is playing again on court 3 at game 27, Hamilton County Paget Hone versus Vigo County Sullivan Witt. And this is what tells me it's a 3-team bracket right here, is because they're playing 3 times and it's every other game. So at 355, 207, 320, game 51 on court 3, it's Vigo County Sullivan Witt versus Madison County Tartar Walker. This is how we look at the different games. So this is how you look at the court schedule. That you're gonna find the division, and then you'll be able to see the different games. Usually a 3-team bracket is played on the same court. If you look at 207, so on court 3 at 207, at 1:35, Vigo County is playing Morgan County in game 15. If you look at 207, it says winner game 15 versus winner game 16. So winner game 15 means that they played at 207. So whoever won out of Vigo and Morgan County wins and advances to game 63. Now, if we go to game 4, 207 is also, or court 4, 204, 207 is playing on court 4, Marion County East versus St. Joe County. And that game, loser game 15 versus loser game 16. So game 16 is on 14 and game 15 was on, or game 16 was on court 4 and game 15 was on court 3. And who winner goes to the winner bracket, the winner court on court 3, and losers go to court 4. So this is a 4-team bracket. These are two different divisions, 207 and 208 right here. Vigo playing Morgan, they'll play on game 15. There's game 15, court 3 on Friday at 1:35 p.m. Whoever wins out of Vigo and Morgan, this game 15 will advance to game 63 on court 3 at 3:55 on Friday. Whoever loses out of this game will advance to game 64 on court 4 at Friday, 3:55 p.m. So this game 205, it's a 3-team bracket, which means that there are 3 teams in it, and whoever they play you're playing everybody in that bracket. So the 4-team, you're just playing 2 of the teams out of the 4. And in the 3-team, you're playing every. So in this one, so Gibson County Aders Vaughn, they scored 12 points. They won against Vanderburgh County Elzinga Hill, 12-4. So then Gibson County would have won that game. Gibson County Aders Vaughn then lost the second game against Steuben County Hash Jones. So they lost from a 6-8. Now Vanderburgh County Elzinga Hill is playing again, and they won against Steuben County Hash Jones. So every team won 1 game. So that's where you see the record over here where they won 1 and they lost 1. When we look for the score differential, we first look at how many points they scored throughout the entire bracket. So Gibson County Aders Vaughn won 12, or they had 12 points for, and they had 6 points, which totals at 18.4. Elzinga Hill had 4 and 9, which totals at 13.4. And then finally, Steuben County Hash Jones had 8 and 5, which goes to that 13 again. So right now, the points for Aders Vaughn wins because they have the most points for. When we look at Elzinga Hill and Hash Jones, they both have 13, which means we have to start looking at how many points were totaled against them. So for Elzinga Hill, they let Aders Vaughn score 12 points against them. So that's taken into account. And then we look again at Elzinga Hill, and Hash Jones scored 5. So they had a total of 12 plus 5 is 17 points against them. And then we look at Hash Jones, and Aders Vaughn scored 6 against them. And then Elzinga Hill scored 9, which was a 15 against. So because Elzinga Hill had 17 against them and Hash Jones had 15 points against them, Hash Jones would get the silver. And then Elzinga Hill would get the bronze. This is another example. I can share this when we, after in the follow-up email, but it's just something that goes through the different, and I have it all written down at below. To the chat. Well, the award, Ray asked, will the awards be held until all the team members are available to accept their awards? That's the plan. So sometimes what can happen is a team might have to go play in a different, they have their second game, or they have their first game in another division because they're on 2 teams. Then we'll try to hold the division as much as possible. If it gets too backed up, they might let the other team get their award, or get the other teams get their award, and then your team can come and stand in front and get their own moment. But we'll usually wait for the entire team. So everybody in Vanderburgh County, Elzinga Hill, we're waiting for both Elzinga and Hill to come before we award. We don't want to just award one.
Weekend. Awards are going to happen after the second round game of the division for 4-team brackets, and then after the last game of the division for 3-team brackets. So because in a 4-team bracket you only play 2 games, that would be the second round, and then we'll have to wait until the end of we'll have to wait until all 3 games have been played for 3-team brackets in order to do awards. Please be patient. there's a lot. There's going to be a lot of divisions and teams that are finishing right around the same time. So awards is always going to be a little packed. Um, we're going to try our best to get through them as quickly as possible, while at the same time trying to give every athlete and unified partner their time at the podium to get their award. So we're going to give that we want to give people time to, accept their award, bask in the moment, but we will try to keep things moving as quickly as we possibly can.
So games are scheduled every 35 minutes, which just means there's that maximum time limit of a game, which is that 30-minute. They have 5 minutes to show up. So we're running back to back usually to keep making sure that all the games are on schedule and to stay within the schedule allotment that we get from.
Or just try and have your athletes and unified partners use the restroom before their games. We can allow athletes and unified partners to use the restroom during a game if it is an emergency, but we would like to avoid that if at all possible, just to kind of keep things moving. And then another reminder that the only people who should be in the competition area are athletes, unified partners, volunteers, and physical assistants. So coaches, spectators should all stay outside of the competition area.
Physical assistance. This is something, if they need help escorting them up to the line and holding them still because they have balance issues. Or we have some athletes who have visibility impairments, so they need assistance with either leading to the line, but also maybe I think Ray, we've used a doorbell in the past to help signify where the Polina is. If there's any of those circumstances or things like that, all of that needs to be cleared in advance, and it needs to be an email sent to me asking or describing what the physical assistant is. So the doorbell situation, we're going to use we need to use a doorbell around this time, or when the Polina is there. We need somebody to help assist because they have balance issues. So we're nervous about falling. If you have any of those need to all be sent and approved prior to summer games. I won't do any on-site requests. So if they don't have a physical assistant approval before summer games, then nobody will be allowed into the competition area. If it's still where an athlete is potential where they might have balance issues, but we don't have a physical assistant, that needs to be communicated to the sports management team, and we will work on a volunteer to help assist, help walk them up or things like that. But in situations where it is mandatory that you think somebody needs assistance, then you need to communicate that to me. But prior to, once again, I will not approve any on-site requests. So it has to be done prior to, and I need a description of the name of the person who's doing it, who will be the physical assistant, as well as the athlete, and why a physical assistance is needed. So, and what it will be, if there's like an additional adaptation that's needed. If it's just they have balance issues or other situations like that, I just need the name and why.
Across the board for all Special Olympic sports. For Bocce, it's going to be the first team to reach 12 points or the 30-minute time limit, whichever comes first. And Savannah already kind of touched on it. There is a 5-minute grace period built into our scheduling, but if a team doesn't show up to their court within that 5 minutes, then that game will be registered as a forfeit for the team that does not show up.
In the event that a 30-minute time limit is reached and the game is tied, the frame will be determined until the frame will keep going until a winner is determined. So they'll play the next frame and keep going until we can find or can determine.
And then the three attempt rule. So the team that has the Polina advantage will have 3 chances to put the Polina in play between the half court line and the opposite foul line. Let's say that team A has the Polina advantage and they are unsuccessful in their 3 attempts to put it between the half court line and the opposite foul line. Then the other team, team B, they would get 1 attempt to put the Polina in play. If team B is successful and puts the Polina in play, team A still has the Polina advantage, so they will throw the first ball. But in the event that team B is also unsuccessful in putting the Polina in play, then a court volunteer will place the Polina in the middle of the court at the midway point between the half court line and the opposite foul line. So it'd be basically putting it at 40 feet, just in the middle of the court. And that's only if all four attempts between team A and B are unsuccessful. And then even if a event volunteer has to place the Polina at the 40-foot line, team A still has a Polina advantage, so they would still deliver.
So I know at several spring games, some of the competitions are played on opposite ends of the court. That's not how it goes at summer games. At summer games, we play all athletes and partners on one side of the court. So that means that there's no going back and forth. Balls are thrown, and then the volunteers will throw the balls back for the next frame.
And then in doubles play, so in doubles teams, each player, whether it's two athletes or an athlete and a unified partner, each player will deliver two balls. And then for team play, every player will deliver one, whether it's traditional or unified. The player who tosses the Polina has to be the first person to deliver a bocce ball for that frame. And then the team whose ball is closest to the Polina is the in ball, and then the opposing team would then have the out ball. Once your team gets the in ball, they step aside and let the team who is out deliver their balls, either until the out team becomes the in team or until the out team delivers all their balls. Ball that your team has. So if both teams have exhausted all of their balls and your team has two balls that are closer than the other team's closest ball, you would get 2 points for that frame. So you get a point for every ball you have closer to the Polina than the other team's closest ball. So that would mean that since you have 4 balls, you can only earn a maximum of 4 points per frame. And whichever team is the scoring team in a frame, they will deliver the Polina to start the next frame. Substitutions are only allowed in between games. You can only substitute a player in between games, but if there is a medical emergency, we obviously will allow you to substitute. However, once you've had a player sub in, they have to finish the remainder of that team's scheduled games. So if it's like you're in a 3-team bracket, you have to sub somebody out for the third game, they would just have to finish the third game. But if they had to get subbed in, say in the first game, then that substitute would have to play the other 2 games. And then you can only substitute players in that are listed as alternates on your roster. If they're not listed as an alternate on your roster, they cannot substitute in.
Can only be an alternate in play for one other event. The alternate list is the same entry process as all the other athletes and unified partners. So they need to be submitted at the same time. And once we'll have a list of that athlete list on there. If they're not on that list, then they are not eligible to play. So you need to make sure if you have an alternate that all of the same deadlines and items and qualifications score as well. Alternates, can a person play on a doubles team be an alternate for the 4-person team if they are registered with the 4-person team? Yep.
In the case of if there's any sort of inclement weather, we would shelter inside of the CHHS building, which is just on the other side of 4th Street. And so it's just a walk across the field, and then we would remain inside and until it is safe to resume play, whenever that may be.
Another item on this is we resume play wherever that time is. So if we lose 2 hours, we lose 2 hours, we lose 2 hours of competition as well. We start up wherever that time is. It makes it a little difficult on scheduling and wise like that, but that way we don't push into the dance, the opening ceremonies, or anything like that, or pushing home. So we start wherever we go out at 10 and we come back at noon or 11:30, we start at 11:30, whatever games are at 11:30. Weather is always huge. So like I mentioned, the grass, sometimes it's dead, sometimes it's super long, sometimes it's perfect. If it's not thundering and lightning and it's just raining, last year I think it rained really hard, not really hard, but a downpour on Sunday. We played. It's up to you if you want to cancel, that's fine. Just let us know in advance. We did have some teams that decided not to play, and that's totally okay. We understand. But if it's raining and there are people who want to play, we're gonna let them play. Tammy said bring sunscreen. That's a great one, Tammy. If there's no cover in that field, if you've got a wet cloth that can go on their neck, or we'll have water at the venue, and we'll also have medical, so athletic trainers that will be on our venue. Do whatever you can to make sure that they're drinking water and that they have shade on them.
As far as attendance goes, your credentials will be sent out when we send out the delegation mailing. If you need protest forms, all you need to do is just come to the management tent at Bocce. We have some for you, but you can remember that you can only protest if you attend the mandatory coaches meeting on May 28th. So if you don't attend that meeting, we can't give you a protest form. So just keeping that in mind. And then if you do want to submit a protest for any reason, you have to submit the protest form within 30 minutes of the conclusion of the game that you want to protest. Volunteers are always a struggle. We will have, our goal is to have 3 volunteers per court. But as we get into, as Savannah kind of touched on it earlier, the further we get into Saturday and then Sunday morning, volunteers can be a little bit of a problem, but our goal is to have 3 volunteers per court. And then the volunteers at the court, they will take care of all keeping the score, measuring the distances, sending the balls back.
I bring a pop-up so that they can sit in the shade. We have no control over the weather, so if it's raining, they don't have to sit there and get wet. I've asked each athlete to bring their own chair because there's only so many chairs in that might be available, but you need to be self-reliant and bring what you need for your athletes to utilize. We'll try to bring a cooler and for drinks, waters, and my county coordinator usually has some type of snacks that they can snack on if they get hungry while they're there.